Okay, so so far the apart from King's absolute income hypothesis, the other consumption theories that we looked at, the permanent income hypothesis and the life cycle hypothesis, they all base their theories on the intertemporal consumption choice by Evan Fisher, in that they assume the consumer is rational and also the consumer is forward looking. Okay, the consumer is forward looking. So whatever consumption decisions that he takes, whatever consumption behavior that the person shows, he tries to think about both the current and then the future. So we saw that the consumption levels for the current and then the future will always depend on the person's lifetime income. Okay, so if you are deciding on the amount of goods and services that you want to consume today, you are thinking about what you have to consume in the future as well. Okay, so if today you are consuming against the expected income that you know you'll be getting in the future. So specifically, if you take the permanent income hypothesis, we saw that consumption was based on the individual's permanent income, and the permanent income too depends on the person's lifetime income. So far, this is what we have been doing. Okay, so sorry, what the random walk hypothesis does is that it added rational expectations to the assumption of the forward-looking consumer. The consumer, in making any economic decision or consumption decision, thinks about the future. That is what we mean by the consumer is forward-looking. Okay. And then we are now adding rational expectations. So we are assuming that this consumer that we are talking about is forward-looking and at the same time uses rational expectations in his decision making. When we talk about rational expectations, it's just an assumption that states that people will use all the available information to make what optimal forecast about the future. Okay, so talking about the consumer is making consumption decisions. So if he's using rational expectations, then it means that whatever consumption level that he wishes to consume today and then in the future, he'll be using all the available information that he has today to make the optimal forecast about his consumption. So if today the consumer is one, he's aware of the income that he will be earning over his lifetime. Two, maybe he's aware that in the near future they are going to increase income taxes. He will incorporate this information into his consumption behavior. So whatever consumption, whatever quantities of goods and services that he wants to consume today and then in the future, all this information will be part of his decision. That is what we mean by rational expectation. Okay, you use all the available information that you have now in making your decision. So here, the person is forward-looking. He's prudent. He tries to consider the future when it comes to his consumption decisions, and also in the quest to make such decisions, he's using all the available information that he has to make optimal forecast about his consumption. So now, what is going to happen is that I am forward looking. Okay, I am forward looking, and then I try to use all the available information that I have to forecast my consumption, my level of consumption for the future, and then the present too. So if one, I am thinking about the future in the presence of rational expectation, then it means that any changes in consumption will be totally unexpected. In the current period, I am forming my consumption behavior, my consumption pattern, the quantities of goods and services I want to consume in the current period and then in the future. When I am forming this behavior, I incorporate all the information that I have. So I know that over my lifetime, these are the consumption levels that I'll be having. So as soon as there's a change in consumption, it will come as a surprise to this consumer. He wouldn't know. It wouldn't be an information that he knew before he formed his consumption pattern. So any change in income will be totally unpredictable. Okay, if you remember, when we're looking at the permanent income hypothesis, we saw that the person consumes out of his permanent income, and then a transitory income. Okay, unexpected changes in the person's income. So if we base our consumption on the person's lifetime permanent income, then his income is his consumption is able to be smoothed over his lifetime. Okay, but in a case where there are some unexpected changes in his income, then it means that he will have to revise his expectations about his lifetime income, and that is going to affect his consumption. Except that these changes in income was totally unpredictable, which means that the changes in consumption too is going to be unpredictable. Please, I hope you are understanding what I am saying. The consumer is forward-looking. He thinks about the future whenever he's forming his consumption pattern. And then two, he is using rational expectations, which means that in deciding the quantities of goods and services to consume today and then in the future, he tries to use all the available information that he has. So over his lifetime, he has used all the available information that he has in the current period to form the quantities of goods and services that he wants to consume. So if there will be changes in consumption, it will be something that he's unaware of. So assuming that I have decided to consume 10,000 Ghana cedis in the future, but then when we get to the future, there's an unexpected announcement that there's going to be an increase in income tax. That is going to reduce my lifetime income. So as soon as that unexpected news comes in that they are going to increase tax, it is going to change my expectations about my lifetime income. And as a result, I'll have to change my level of consumption. But this change was totally unpredictable. I didn't know that there was going to be an increase in income tax, which was going to affect my lifetime income. So the basis of the random walk hypothesis is that if the consumer is forward-looking and he is using rational expectations, then changes in consumption over time should be totally unpredictable. Okay, it should be totally unpredictable. If there is no unpredictable news which can change the expectations of the consumer, then consumption will be stable. Consumption wouldn't change at all. But as soon as there's some unpredictable news or event which will change the consumer's expectation about his lifetime income, then we expect an unpredictable change in his consumption. Okay, so whenever you have a variable and then that changes in that variable is totally unpredictable, we say that the variable follows a random walk. Okay, it follows a random walk. Those who do econometrics, you do this random walk thing, I think second semester level 400. It's about regression and all that. So what Robert Hall was trying to say is if you combine the permanent income hypothesis and the rational expectation, then consumption will follow a random walk. Okay, it will follow a random walk, which means that changes in consumption will be totally unpredictable. Okay, let me show you the equation for the random walk. This is the random walk model. Okay, what this means is that this is consumption in the next period. This is consumption in the current period. And then this is the, we call it the error term, okay, the unexpected changes. So what this means is that your consumption level in the next period would depend on the current consumption level and then some unexpected change in consumption. Okay, then this change here is totally unpredictable. You can never know what this change in consumption is going to be like. Okay, so based on permanent income hypothesis and then rational expectation, consumption will follow a random walk. Consumption in the next period will depend on the current period's consumption and then a totally unpredictable component, which is this here. Okay, and so this is what we call the random walk hypothesis. Okay. Now, as I said earlier, when we're talking about the permanent income hypothesis, we saw that consumers' income change. I mean, that's the transitory income. There are at times where their level of income changes, but those changes are temporary. Okay, but there's consumer, because he's using, we assume that the person is rational, he's trying to maximize his utility, his lifetime utility. He tries to smoothen his consumption over his lifetime. I mean, in the best possible way. Though there are going to be changes in income and all that, he tries his best to make sure that the level of consumption that he's choosing over his lifetime will be a bit stable. Okay, it's going to be a bit stable. But then over time, our sorry. So this individual whose consumption is based on his permanent income will try to choose a stable consumption, I mean, over his entire lifetime. But with time, there are points or periods in the person's life where his consumption might change, or because he might receive a news or there might be some event that will cause the individual to revise his expectation. Okay, your consumption is based on the expectations that you have about your lifetime income. Okay, you've been able to smoothen your consumption, but this smoothing was based on your expectations on your lifetime income. So you expect that over your lifetime income, this is the amount of money that you are going to earn. Therefore, you are dividing this income over the periods that you've been living. So you try to stabilize your consumption levels. But you get to a point in your life where you might receive some news that will cause you to revise that expectations that you have. Okay, please, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. So, when I mean an unexpected news comes in and then the person revises his consumption, then it means that one, though you were forward looking and then you are using rational expectations, you wanted to stabilize your consumption, but you've been hit with an unexpected news. So as soon as this unexpected news is able to cause you to revise your expectation, then your consumption too will have to change. But this change in consumption was totally unpredictable. You didn't know that you were going to have such a news. Okay, so an example is if you are a worker and then you get an unexpected promotion, you see that this is going to increase your lifetime income. Okay, this is going to increase your lifetime income. So if yesterday you had, based on your rational expectation and then your forward-looking assumption, you formed your consumption pattern. But today you receive this unexpected news that you are getting a promotion. This is going to cause you to revise your consumption because there's going to be an increase in your lifetime income. So what is going to happen to your consumption? Your consumption will increase. But this increase in consumption was totally unpredictable. You didn't know that you're going to get a promotion. And if you get an unexpected news that you're going to be demoted, this is going to decrease your lifetime income. So you have to revise your expectation. This is going to cause the consumers' level of consumption to fall. Okay, so the random walk hypothesis is combining permanent income hypothesis with rational expectations, in that whenever there are changes in consumptions, that should be as a result of surprises about the person's lifetime income. Okay, if he knows that this is the income that I'll be earning, if you take this example and this person who received the promotion, if before he was forming his expectations, if he knew that he was going to get this promotion, maybe we are in 2021 now, okay, and then he had a hint that in 2022 he was going to get a promotion. When he's forming his consumption pattern today, he will add this information that in the next 2 years he's going to get a promotion, and that is going to increase his income. So he will factor this increase in income in his consumption pattern now, today. So this is what we will call what the rational expectation. He's using all the available info that he has. So when he gets to the year, I mean, after 2 years, if they then tell him that you have received a promotion, it is not going to affect his lifetime income. His expectations won't change because he was already aware that this thing was going to happen, which will not cause changes in his consumption. So consumption can only change if the person receives a surprise, an unexpected change in his lifetime income. Is that okay? Please, are we together?
Yes.
So you see that the theory is very nice and it's very simple. It's very, very simple. So if the consumers are optimally using all the available info, they are using all the information that they have, then they should only be surprised by events that are unpredictable. Okay, I will never be surprised by something that I already know. I can only be surprised by things that are unpredictable. So if my lifetime income can only change if there are unpredictable circumstances, then it means that the changes in my consumption too should be totally unpredictable. Okay, it should be totally unpredictable. So that is the random walk hypothesis. So what is the implication of this? What is the implication of this? Now, one, based on what we are doing, if you're a consumer, you are using rational expectation and you are forward looking, you always do forecasting. You forecast your consumption based on your lifetime income that you expect. So that is the main implication of the random walk hypothesis. We are using forecasting, but it is not just that. The random walk hypothesis also has implication on economic policies. Gina, please, a minute. Yeah, Prince. All right. Hello. Please, are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
now we are just following the things that I've highlighted. Okay. Now I'm saying that based on the random walk hypothesis, it has implications on economic policies. Okay. So how is this true? If we assume that the consumers are obeying the permanent income hypothesis and also they have rational expectations, then only unexpected policy changes can affect consumption. Only what? Unexpected policy changes can affect consumption, which means that if the consumer is aware of the policy, then if the policy comes into effect, it wouldn't surprise the consumer. And if the consumer isn't surprised, it doesn't affect his expectation. So the policy can only change the consumption level or the consumption behavior of the consumer if the change is what? If the policy is able to change the consumer's expectation. And we only change our expectations when we are surprised. If we are not surprised, then it means that we were already aware of what was going to happen. So even if the thing comes in, we've already factored it in. So look at the example that they gave. assuming that Ghana Parliament announced today that next year, sorry, that next year they are going to increase income tax. Okay, they are going to increase the income tax. Now, the consumers are aware now that next year this is what is going to happen. Okay, that next year this is what is going to happen. So if they are aware now, they are able to factor it into their expectations. So when they get to the following year where the tax increase actually happens, it doesn't change their expectations because they were already aware that this was what was going to happen. Are we together? Maybe when Parliament went into session,
Yes, please.
this year, they decided that next year there will be a tax hike. So now the general public knows. So if you're a consumer, you have to factor this information into your consumption levels today. So when we get to the following year, it's now that the tax is going to take effect. Consumption won't change because, I mean, we are aware. So we are not shocked by whatever tax increase that we are having in that current year. So that is one implication. Okay, that is one implication. So if consumers have rational expectations, then policy makers will affect the economy not only through their actions. It's not just about the increase in tax that you are bringing, no. But you are able to affect the system through the public's expectations of your action. You want to increase tax. That is the action that you want to take. Yes, that can affect the level of consumption. But then its effect, the effect of the change in tax won't only work through the increase in tax, but it will also work through the expectations of the consumer about the increase in tax. So if the consumer knew that you were going to increase tax, then when you actually increase tax, it doesn't come as a surprise. So if you want to affect consumption, sorry, you need to make sure that the policy that you are undertaking will shock or surprise the consumer. If it's able to surprise him, then he by force he has to revise his expectations, and by doing so, his consumption levels will change. Okay, so in the presence of forward-looking and rational expectations, policy makers will affect the economy, one, through their actions, and then two, through the public's expectations of their actions. If we already expect that this is what the government is going to do, then when they actually do it, we don't care because we've already factored it into our decision making. Okay, into our decision making. So that is the implication of Robert Hall's permanent random walk hypothesis. Okay, random walk hypothesis. So he combined Milton Friedman's permanent income hypothesis with rational expectations. Please, I hope we understand.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, sorry. That is one theory that we'll have to deal with today. Then we have to look at the pool of instant gratification. Okay, the pool of instant gratification. The theories are too much. All right. For this one too, if you remember, when we started with King's absolute income hypothesis, we said that his theory was based on the fundamental psychological law. Okay, but looking at the subsequent ones, from Evan Fisher to Milton Friedman, intertemporal consumption choice, permanent income hypothesis, life cycle hypothesis, all these people didn't even talk about psychology. It wasn't about psychology at all. Okay, they just based their theories on the assumption of forward-looking individual or consumer, and that the person is rational. They believe in Homo economicus. Please, have you heard that term before? Homo economicus. Is an assumption that there's a hypothetical. Homo means human being. So it's a hypothetical human being who is always trying to maximize his level of utility if he's a consumer, and tries to maximize his profit if he is a producer. Okay, so their theories are based on the ultra-rational Homo economicus. They based their theories on the fact that the consumer is rational and that he always wants to maximize his lifetime utility. Okay, by doing so, they didn't bring the effect of psychology at all, as King said. But then there are some new economists who are also trying to chip in psychology, okay, to chip in human psychology, sorry, human psychology into consumption. So they try to study the consumption pattern of behavior of individuals based on psychology. Okay, so this is the guy who is championing this course. I don't even know if he's still alive or not. So look at some survey that they did. Okay, after the survey, they found out that 76% of the people who were interviewed were not saving enough for their retirement. But if you look at the theories that we looked at, this was something that the rational consumer was supposed to do. He was supposed to save for retirement. Specifically, if you remember the life cycle hypothesis, the person from the beginning of his life had nothing. So he had to borrow. When he gets to his working years, he worked to pay that debt. And then he saved enough for retirement so that when he goes for retirement, he's able to consume there. But then look at the percentage of people who are saying that they are not saving. They are not saving at all. I mean, they are not saving enough for their retirement, which means that there is another factor which is at work here. It's not just about forward-looking consumers and then this Homo economicus thing. No, it's not always that human beings are rational. So what exactly is happening? Okay, this is the phenomenon that they call the pool of instant gratification. Instant gratification just means that you prefer your enjoyment today. You don't want to defer it at all. You don't want to push your enjoyment to the future. So if we are talking about consumption, then you prefer consumption today to consuming tomorrow. We don't even know what tomorrow brings. So why don't I consume today? So if the person is thinking in this way, if this individual is thinking in this way, then the person is not forward looking. The person is very myopic. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen. So let's just kill ourselves today. Let's enjoy today. If we go to bed and we don't wake up again, we've chilled. Okay, you see how some of the human beings behave. So there's nothing like rationality. If you come to the real world, we are talking about real human beings. It's not always that we act rationally. Let's try and answer these questions. Question one is that, would you prefer A, a candy today, or B, 2 candies tomorrow? And then look at the second question. Would you prefer A, a candy in 100 days, or B, 2 candies in 101 days? Please, who would like to try? Answer both questions. In the first question, would you go for A or would you go for B?
In the first question, go for A.
The first question, you go for A.
I'll go for A, but in the second question, I'll go for B.
Why?
Because with the second one, I just have to add just one day in order to get friend saying 2 candies, but this one I'll wait 100 days for just a candy.
No, check the questions
Oh,
for.
wait,
Check the questions for. The first question is that if you get a candy today, or you get 2 candies tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, are you going for A or you are going for B?
I said that first one I'm going for A.
Why?
Today.
Why are you going for A?
Because what if tomorrow I don't get the 2 candies?
But what about the 100 days and then the 101 days? That one you are saying you go for B, right?
With the 100 for B, yes.
Why?
Because I'll just have to wait just another day in order to get 2 candies.
But this one too, you can wait for just one day.
No, that one.
Okay, thank you.
No, that one is my choice.
Awade, if you look at the first question, which one would you go for?
So I'll go for A.
And then the second one.
The second one, I'll go for B because if I can wait for 100 days, I can also wait for 101 days.
Really?
So I think it depends on the period, the time period. If it's short, yeah, I'll go for the first question. I'll go for A. But if it's a long period, what change? 100, 101 I want to mean change. So like, it depends on the time period.
I see. Adelaide. Adelaide. Odumeza.
Hello, sir.
Which one are you going for?
Please, for the first question, I'll go for B.
You go for B.
And then with the second question, so I also go for the B.
For B. Why are you going for B for question 1?
Because if I take just one candy today, I will not get tomorrow. But then if I wait and take for the question 1, if I wait and take 2 candies tomorrow, then I've gotten 2 candies for 2 days.
But the thing too is like we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Okay. All right. Bernice.
Yes.
Which one are you going for? Question 1, which one will you go for? Bernice. William. Willie. Willie, which one will you go for?
To me, the two can.
Bernice, then number 1, you go for the 2 candies, eh? Willie?
Say,
which one will you go for?
So I'll go for B for both of them.
You go for B, eh?
Yes,
Okay.
for both of them.
Okay. Kwesi? Yima?
Yeah.
Yima, which ones are you going for?
For the first question, I will go for C.
You go for A.
Yes, sir.
And the second question?
The second question, I'll go for B.
You go for B, eh? Okay. The meeting is almost over, so when we come back, then I will explain. Mindy, which one will you go for? Mindy. Hey, Kwame,
Yeah.
which one will you go for?
So the first one, I will go for A. Second one, so I'll go for A.
Second one,
Because
you can't wait.
yes, yes, because it's certain that today I'm getting this. I'm getting one. For the first one, it's certain that today I'm getting this, and the second one is certain that in 100 days I'm getting this. What if in 101 days